side has been given not to rivet, but men down, even the proud. You can see the hype but not a way out. There's no escape for a man locked in prison, counting the ways to make change, but his days remain numbered. Slumbered in chains, crumbled to haze, plunder, pure dust, man, it's fun. So may it be that a man locked in prison hasn't seen what a life can be risen, or he is blind to the face that he's hidden. So time's tick stops till he drops. So may it be that a man locked in prison ever sees what a life can be risen, or he could be something more than he's given. For now he only withers as a man locked in prison. There's no stage for the man locked in prison. He is written for script, automated core, spoken with flaws, baked beyond raw, comfortable with the norm. You can't hear the storm that bounces in form. There's not a pace for the man locked in prison. Spaced in places, grace cut short. What is reached for? A reason, a season, a fleeing of time, tied to the grind. So may it be that a man locked in prison hasn't seen what a life can be risen, or he is blind to the face that he's hidden. So time's tick stops till he drops. So may it be that a man locked in prison ever sees what a life can be risen. He could be something more than he's given. For now he only withers as a man locked in prison. Space tamed, framed. Is it night, deflecting the light? Darkest day with matter in the space tamed, framed. Shape in order, drawn face border. Thinker is the maker in the space tamed, framed. Lonely days, craving another lane. It isn't theorism, just only his decision. He won't see it, will he ever hear it? Can he even breathe it in the space tamed, framed? Is it night, deflecting the light? Darkest day with matter in the space tamed, framed. Shape in order, drawn face border. Thinker is the maker in the space tamed, frames. Lonely days, crave another lane. It isn't theorism, just a man locked in prison. Locked in prison. Just a man locked in prison. It's only his decision, just a man locked in prison. Locked in prison. It isn't theorism, just a man's decision. For the man locked in prison, walk in a shape that no side has been given not to rivet, but men down, even the proud. You can see the hype but not a way out. There's no escape for a man locked in prison, counting the ways to make change, but his days remain numbered. Slumbered in chains, crumbled to haze, plunder, pure dust, man, it's fun. So may it be that a man locked in prison hasn't seen what a life can be risen, or he is blind to the face that he's hidden. So time's tick stops till he drops. So may it be that a man locked in prison ever sees what a life can be risen, or he could be something more than he's given. For now he only withers as a man locked in prison. There's no stage for the man locked in prison. He is written for script, automated core, spoken with flaws, baked beyond raw, comfortable with the norm. You can't hear the storm that bounds it in form. There's not a pace for the man locked in prison. Spaced in places, grace cut short. What is reached for? A reason, a season, a fleeing of time, tied to the grind. So may it be that a man locked in prison hasn't seen what a life can be risen. Or he is blind to the face that he's hidden. So time stops till he drops. So may it be that a man locked in prison ever sees what a life can be risen. He could be something more than he's given. For now he only withers as a man locked in prison. He won't see it, will he ever hear it? Can he even breathe it in a space tamed, framed? Is it night, deflecting the light, darkest day with matter in the space tamed, framed, shape in order, drawn face border, thinker is the maker in the space tamed, framed, lonely days, craving another lane, it is a theorism, just only his decision. He won't see it, will he ever hear it? Can he even breathe it in a space tamed, framed? Is it night, deflecting the light, darkest day with matter in the space tamed, framed, shape in order, drawn face border, thinker is the maker in a space tamed, frames, lonely days, crave another lane, it isn't theorism, just a man locked in prison. Locked in prison. Just a man locked in prison. It's only his decision, just a man locked in prison. Locked in prison. It isn't theorism, just a man's decision to be locked in prison. There's no cage for the man locked in prison. Walk in a shape that no side has been given, not to rivet, but men down, even the proud. You can see the hype but not a way out. There's no escape for a man locked in prison. Counting the ways to make change, but his days remain numbered. Slumbered in chains, crumbled to haze, plunder, pure dust, man is fun. So may it be that a man locked in prison hasn't seen what a life can be risen. Or he is blind to the face that he's hidden. So time's tick stops till he drops. So may it be that a man locked in prison ever sees what a life can be risen. Or he could be something more than he's given. For now he only withers as a man locked in prison. There's no stage for the man locked in prison. He is written for script, automated core, spoken with flaws, baked beyond raw, comfortable with the norm. You can't hear the storm that bounds it in form.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Aussie Racing League here on a Sunday night. I am Butters, your host for our iRacing League as we hit up Virginia International Circuit. Our first season here running around in the iRacing competition. Obviously, we saw Daytona last week and we're off to Sebring next week before heading up a few iconic tracks within our first season. This afternoon, you are being privileged to around about 30 drivers across all three divisions. We're taking on Virginia's 17 corners and certainly a few tough areas throughout this track. We've seen a few spins happen during our practice sessions as all our drivers start their quali here this afternoon. Last week, as I said, if you're unsure on how this competition works, we do have 2 races every night, both a sprint and a feature. 40 points are up for grabs for the winner of the sprint, with 60 points up for grabs for the feature race. You can see here with our pro division at the moment, Teo managed to get max points last week for the 100 points up front, followed by Tazza, Seb, and Mr. Cato, who I'm getting his name right this week. So apologies, Cato, for last week. I got corrected on that one there. Heading down further into points, but as I said, 100 points per week up for grabs. So our drivers who are further down the list there, as you were seeing walking through, it's 1 week of great racing. You can be back up the top. So in our intermediate division here, Pro M division, we can see our 6th. There we go, back up to the top of our leaderboard. Once again, Jacob Guscott taken all points available in round 1 at Daytona. Looking at my list though, he is not here tonight. So Calnan is, Hayden in P2 is, so he'll be looking to boost his position up the top of the leaderboard in our intermediate division. But yeah, a couple of drivers missing tonight from our middle and our amateur division, which is going to be coming up quite shortly. Monaco again, so all drivers across all 3 divisions won both races. So Monaco again taking the full 100 points there. But we've only got 5 of our drivers in our amateur division tonight, being Daniel Piper is top of our leaderboard in P3. So he'll be taking the max opportunity, trying to capitalize on some points there. But Eckham, who didn't race last week, is in our top division of our F1 division as well. So he'll be looking to capitalize in his first chance here in the iRacing around Virginia. So for those who are unsure how our season works, so we have a 20-minute quali here. All drivers are on track at once, which will set the grid for the sprint race. And then from our sprint race, we will go ahead and do 20-minute session for the sprint race. And then in our feature, the results from the sprint race get completely flipped. So if you end up going first, congratulations in the sprint race, but you will start last in the feature race. And you'll go around the track for 40 minutes again in the feature race and head off and go from there. So one of the big key mechanical differences between the 2 races is our feature race does have a compulsory pit stop. Our sprint race does not, so drivers can fuel up for the whole 20 minutes and go around Virginia without needing a pit stop. Hopefully none of our drivers will need a pit stop and everyone stays crash free tonight. But in our feature race, you will require a pit stop. So there is a capping in the amount of fuel that you can put in the car. So it does force you into needing a pit stop for the 40 minutes there. So see a couple of drivers here. Cato posting a 148 already, but Slade comes in and does a 144. Absolutely smashes the time out of the park there. So in practice, a 144 won by Teo was kind of our top time there. So Slade's about 4/10 off what we saw in practice. But yeah, that was for our pro division. For our intermediate division, Belbin did a 145.3. So already we're at a 146. So another a second there can be caught by Rickwood, who has done plenty of practice, it must be said. They did a massive 3-hour session before the 20-minute session that you just saw. And Rickwood was one of our drivers who, I think clocked in nearly about 60 laps in that 3-hour session there. And looking at our amateur division, the top time in practice was a 146.56, which was done in by Eckham, who you can currently see is in P3. But Barber at the moment posting a 149, so we definitely know there's a bit of time there to be caught in our amateur division as well. So look for these times to be vastly improved as we go. A couple of drivers be just getting a banker lap in, but at the moment it'd be interesting to see how these times improve. So as I said, there's about 30 odd drivers who are competing around Virginia at the moment. So a lot of traffic is going to be met by a lot of the drivers. We're seeing a few spin-offs as well. So trying to get out and doing as many laps as possible is the crucial part here. Jonathan Slade posts a 144.5 again, still the top of our pro division. We're yet to see Tazza post anything higher, 144.68, so only kind of a tenth and a bit behind Slade up front there. But as mentioned, Teo, our current championship leader in the pro division, has posted a 2 minutes time, which I don't think is going to be accurate for the pace we've seen him go around these tracks. So, and as I said, he did post the fastest time in practice. So I'll be keeping an eye on Teo to kind of jump up that leaderboard quite quickly and get himself to the front 2 rows at least for this first sprint race. Managed to do the challenge of last to first last week in Daytona. So we've seen Teo in this pro division can do the challenge. Well, all drivers in all division actually managed to do the last to first. So the first couple of corners, especially here at Virginia, is going to be crucial if you're trying to gain those first initial spots. So Piper here, currently P3 in our amateur division, posts a 148 and gets himself into P1. So definitely looking to capitalize here with our top 2 runners in the amateur division missing for tonight. But again, all eyes for myself would be on Eckham, who has proven his talents in the F1 division, if you're interested in that, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So I'll be quite interested to see, as we're on board with him now, be quite interested to see the times that he can post when he's in a GT3 car. So, yeah, of course, the cars that we're using tonight are all the GT3 series cars. So I'll just get the list of cars up at the moment. They're in my notes here somewhere. So yeah, a little bit different to our F1 cars that a lot of the drivers are used to driving around in, and different tracks as well. But yeah, we have a range of cars that our drivers can choose from, and they do need to pick one from the start of the season and stick with it the whole way through. So the cars in choice are your Audi RAL MS, the BMW M4, the Ferrari 488 Evo, the Ford GT, the Lambo, the McLaren MP4 12C, the Mercedes GT3, and the Porsche 911 as well. So all 8 cars are available for our drivers to pick. It's pure preference. There's no classifications in which division can pick what. So yeah, certainly you're seeing a wide range of GT3 cars around the track tonight. So on board with Slade, who we saw post a fair decent time in practice as well. So he'll be looking to improve and potentially get himself onto that front row. Teo, as I mentioned, posts the top time in practice and has come through with a 144.28. So only about a tenth and a half off his time that he posted in practice. Slade did a 144.48 in practice. So he's got about a tenth that he can improve on his time, but he does have both Tazza and Teo in front of him, who he's going to try and find about 3/10 to catch the 2 there in front. So last week we saw Taz and Teo kind of compete the whole way through Daytona, so no surprise seeing those 2 up front once again. And we'll be certainly keeping an eye on the 2 of them competing again for that top spot. And well, Taz will be wanting to make sure that Teo doesn't take the double podium or double win this round as well. Approaching the halfway mark here of our quali session, so drivers will be looking to try to make sure that they are posting their best times. So, and on board at the moment with Xavier Davis in our pro division, 154 is his best time at the moment, so certainly some time to be found. It looks like maybe he hasn't done a huge amount of practice around this track, as he almost loses it there as in turn 10 as we head into turn 12 of Oak Tree, the hairpin here. So you really need to make sure you get out of into the south bend there after going through Snake in the front end of this track. Make sure you really get the launch that you need going into that hairpin of turn 12. You kind of muck up turn 10, you can kind of see yourself almost T-boning someone coming out of the oak hairpin there. Gets himself around here now into roller coaster chicane of turns 14 and 15 after that long straight between turns 13 and turn 14 there. As jumping on board with Hayden here in the intermediate division, currently P4 in our Pro AM with a 146.43. So about a second, almost perfectly a second off the leader. So certainly can kind of jump up a few spots here. As you can see, that intermediate division is quite close between our top 5 drivers. There's only about a second and a tenth between first and fifth. So top 5 here certainly competing and could really change in these last 10 minutes as we into the last half of our quali session. As you're seeing here, he's heading towards what I believe is turns 14, so roller coaster corners after that long straight. So you've got to really make sure you read the driver in front of you and don't go up the rear end of anyone there. Cause a few crashes. So bit more of a complex track compared to Daytona. Daytona had that oval kind of look to it with a few little corners at the start of the track and that little bus chicane kind of at the back end of the oval. But Virginia is definitely a lot more of a racing style circuit. Not as oval orientated as kind of what our other tracks are that you'll see throughout the season. I'm certainly keen for when Panorama comes in. I believe it was round 5 that we're coming home and we're seeing Panorama. So that's going to test a lot of our drivers here going around the 3.5 minute circuit. Xavier, who we were on board with before, as I did mention, he had a 154 as his top time. We saw some time that was over to be caught, and he has got himself into the top 4 or top 5, I should say. They're really competing with these top drivers. Teo's managed to get himself into a low 144, almost breaking the 144s, about a tenth off there. Roseman, though, is actually pipped Davis for P4. So Davis came through in that last lap and got himself into P4, but Roseman just getting him by about 0.2 between, 0.04 between him and Davis. So some tight battles going here. So that's second row there for Roseman, but Davis will be that one row behind. So if you can find the 400s between him and Roseman and get himself in the second row, it'd be a good little start there for Davis. Leave you enjoy the sights of Virginia with Davis, who's in our P5 Pro Division, as you see someone spin out in front of him, and let you enjoy the sights of Virginia heading into snakes of 6, 7, and 8. On board with Roseman, my apologies, my driver's mixed up there. We almost was hoping for a great time with that slipstream that he got down that back end straight there, but can't improve. Stays P5 for the meantime, so has been picked by Matthew Berry for P4 for that second row. But Roseman and Davis will see each other in that third row if things stay as they are. Still a 144.09 posted by Teo, who's about 2.5 tenths in front of Mazza at the moment. Looking at our intermediate division, where we've got 1:45.1 is our top time, about 3/10 in front of Chris Elson. In our amateur division, Eckham has got himself into P1 currently in our amateur division with a 1:46.2. And closely followed by Jeff Sanderford, a 1:47.4. So about a second and a bit between our amateur drivers down the bottom there. So plenty of room for a couple of Daniel Piper to perhaps get himself into the front row for our amateur division. And you're seeing some of these car liveries. These are all custom-made car liveries, which is, some of them are looking fantastic, it must be said. We had a couple of famous companies last week, which I won't mention them again, but yeah, a couple of interesting ones last week, which was great to see. Owen Page at the moment we're on board with, who's gone a little bit wide. He's got it done well to keep hold of it. He's P3 currently in our intermediate division. 1:46.3 is his best time, so he's about a second behind Chris Elson in P2. So a bit of work there to do by Owen Page, and you can kind of see he's trying to push it all the way as we hit the last 5 minutes of quali. So this is where you might see a few spins from our drivers as they try to really push it, gain those last few positions. Now, the big difference between our sprint and our feature race as well is that drivers will start where they qualify. So the group does act as one big group for our initial quali. So if an amateur driver gets in front of pro or intermediate drivers, he will stay there. As we see a massive spin by Tazza. I'm going to make sure to clip that and put that in the Discord as one of our owners of the league. But yeah, as I was saying, so it doesn't matter where you quali or what division that you are in, you will stay in the overall position that you quali in. When we go from our sprint to our feature race, the lobby gets reset and our divisions will actually get paired up with each other. So we'll have the pro division up the front, our intermediate division in the middle of the pack, and then our amateurs division out the back. So you will see a fair chunk of or different drivers kind of all over the shop in regards to where they're positioned for the sprint race, but we become a lot more structured for the feature race as well. So on board here with Cato, who has currently got himself in P9 for our pro division. So he'll be looking to kind of improve his time there out of 1:44.9, so about 9/10 off the leaders there. So it does tell you how close our pro division is. There's a second between first and 10th. So it really does show you what a couple tenths can do and how far it can jump you up the leaderboard there. Cato now trying to improve this time as we're into the last 2.5 minutes of quali. So drivers will get to finish the lap that they're on. So it doesn't just stop at the 20-minute mark. They can, if they're on a hot lap, finish that race, or finish that lap, I should say. Little wide as Alex does manage to hold on in 10 at the South Bend, but I'd say he's going to recuperate and try again for one last lap here. And here comes Taz again, who he's still got about 3/10. So as I said, there's a second between first and 10 in the pro division, but there's 3/10 between first and second. So there's a massive gap between Teo and Taz there in the top two. And just got to try and catch the man. Teo coming in now. You can see the sector difference time. So he's currently up on sector 1, 2, and 2, 3, and 4. So this is currently looking pretty good for Teo. Oh, sorry, Tazza. Being told, yeah. So yeah, Teo currently has gone purple through sector 1. So he's pulled out, making sure he's going to keep this pole position here at Virginia. Taz, though, comes around. We're on board with our current pole sitter. He's going to try and defend this title as he's just flying through Snake into the Oak Road hairpin here. Takes it nice and clean. Gets as wide as he can going down this back straight here. Driver's been told that little cutoff area to the left there is out of bounds, so hopefully none of our drivers get forced into that area there. And flying down, this is just foot to the floor, trying to go as fast as you can as you hit the roller coaster chicanes of turns 14 and 15. Nice braking. You can kind of take this first corner with some speed, but you are hard on the brakes to try and take that hard right-hand corner. A lot of drivers might get caught out there if they it's a bit of a blind chicane that you come to. We're coming in now to corner 17, the hog ped He's up here into start-finish line. Does he manage to improve? There's the line. There comes around. Keeps a 1:44.09 as the top time there. Jonathan Slade actually manages to pip Tazza for P2 with a 1:44.28. So as drivers now, that is expired time. So anyone who's on a hot lap can complete the hot lap. But otherwise, that is it for all our drivers. Xavier Davis has managed to go down to the third row with Roseman still. So again, there's only 400s between him and Roseman, so potentially he can gain another position. He's got about a 10th and a half to try and catch Matthew Berry for the second row here. So on board with what is one of our last drivers here as he heads into this roller coaster chicane again. The last kind of tricky section of this track, just as long as you don't screw up the last corner, which we can see Davis heading into now, heads into the hog pen. He's gone wide, and oh no, he's going to hit the tyres. That will be the end of Davis's quali. So he won't go any better than P6. It was looking pretty good from him, to be honest with you. Jonathan Slade here is going to try and get Teo. He's got about 2/10 to try and make up here. He's going to be an absolute challenge as he heads into the hog pen corners, up into the final straight, but he's going to pit lane, and that'll be it for Slade. So Teo will take P1 in our Pro Division. Jaden Belbin, who's posted top time in our intermediate division at 1:45.1, so about a second off our Pro Division. And then Eckham has taken the pole on his first race here in the iRacing division with a 1:46.1. So about a second and a bit in front of Sanford, who takes P2, and Piper, who's currently P3 in our championship overall, with a 1:47.5. So a bit of a wide spread between our amateur drivers down below. However, the good news for our amateur drivers is only 5 of them in the division. So it doesn't matter how many drivers are around for each race. We still give 40 points for first, 38 for second, so on and so forth. And as you see on the screen there, that is our final times for quali here at Virginia. And we're about to get ready for the sprint race, which would be 20 minutes of racing. So it's not lapped racing here if you're new to iRacing. It's timed racing. So drivers just go around the track for 20 minutes straight and see who can come out on top. So now, granted as well, it is 20 minutes to the time. So it's not 20 minutes plus a lap. So once time has expired, that will be it. That will be the final lap that our drivers will be on. So doing quick maths here, you should be seeing roughly around 12 laps done by our drivers, maybe 11, depending on how time goes. So just waiting here. So yeah, running our top 3 of each of our divisions. Teo, Jonathan Slade, and Tazza takes P3, P1, 2, and 3 for our top divisions. Matthew Berry rounds out the second row. Roseman and Davis for the third row, and the 2 Lawrences are in P4. Is there any brother rivalry there? Do we know? If it is, it's going to be a fierce 4th row there for our Pro Division. I'm going to be quite interested to see how the 2, let's go brothers, work out between each other. McDonald and Willie go in the 5th row with Pagewick and Alex in the 6th row, and McQuillan rounds out our Pro Division there. So in the intermediate division, if we can scroll back up just to see the front rows, there we go. Belbin and Chris take the front row. Zach and Todd go in the 2nd row there. Rickwood and Page in the 3rd row, and then Hayden and Ifty in the 4th row with Gus Scott. Oh, so Gus Scott is in. Gus Scott, our championship leader, must have had a late entry because he's only just joined without a quali time. So that's a bit of worrying for our front runners. So as we're looking in our amateur division, so Eckham and Jeff go in the front row. Daniel Piper and Keegan in the 2nd row, with Brody rounding out our amateur at the back of the pack for this race. So a late entry there from Gus Scott. He doesn't want to do a quali, just wants to start last and gives himself a challenge here. So this will be interesting to see how that all rounds out. As drivers are just waiting to get things sorted for the race here. We can see we're all lined up in pit row. So we'll make a lap around and get ourselves on the grid. Just waiting for, I've got the timer starting on our race, so I'm curious as to what's starting here. Oh, here we go. Drivers are getting ready to take on Virginia International as we go out under the safety car for the formation lap. And then drivers will head to their allocated positions on the grid, ready for what will be a fantastic round 2 here at Aussie Racing League iRacing Division on a Sunday afternoon. Remember, if you are watching and you are keen to join, it's not too late to join the season. You can join on our Discord, which is in the Twitch chat right now. And if you are interested in some F1 driving as well, there is plenty of spots available for our F1 divisions on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So join the Discord, come join in the fun. It's always a good night here with Aussie Racing League. So be interested to see how Teo defends this launch. So he's got Slade and Taz behind him. So 2 drivers who he knows were going to try and compete with him the whole way through. And lucky for the front runners, they've got some clean air. I'm worried about our back markers who are middle of the pack, who are going to be quite 3 wide going into this first corner. And kind of Virginia does have that hairpin going into turn 1. So plenty of opportunity for a few dive bombs, dare I say, going into turn 1. And a few opportunities for drivers to gain a lot of positions, but at the same time for a few crashes to occur throughout the race as well. Just making sure no messages are coming through the Discord. Everything's all fine and dandy. Shout out to our producer as well. Crosso Dog is behind all the work that you see on the screen. He's been doing some work all the week to get this all running. So this is our first season with iRacing. So each week we'll try and improve the service that you guys get and get to watch over the time. But yeah, shout out to the man who's running everything behind here. He's done some work to get everything looking as good as it has here. As we're slowly making our way around this track. I just realised that's the turn 12 of Oak Tree hairpin. So down this back straight here, which is where a lot of your overtaking probably will be occurring down this back straight, as if you don't get the correct entrance. Oh, as we're having a little bit of spin. Oh, drivers are getting tyres warmed up, ready for the races here. Oh, we have got a spin. Drivers are spinning around all over the shop at the back there. We're going to build a bit of a collision at the back during our formations lap. Hopefully there's not too much damage done to cars and people aren't too affected. It'd be a shame for the formation lap to be a reason why some drivers have to pit early here. Heading into, again, roller coaster chicane here. This will be where some drivers might get caught out if they're in a fierce battle down that back straight. You got to make sure you hit your braking marker because you can fly yourself into those tyre barriers that are right in front of you there. You just don't want to be caught out. Loving Teo's livery there. That's a nice looking livery. I'll give him that. Oh, nice pretty colours. We've got some pinks and purples and blues going around throughout the pack. So everyone's done great work designing all these. Lights are on and away we go. We are racing here for lap 1 of Virginia. Teo's got a fantastic start, and Taz's got to try and go up the inside of Slade there. Gets P2 completed. Going down the back of our stride of our races there, as someone's already gone off the track. Barber's got to go straight into the wall and has crashed out of the race. Not a fantastic start for Barber in our amateur division. We'll start the back of the... Oh, we'll start P1 actually in our amateur division, which is a good news for him. Rickwood now jumping on board in our intermediate division. No positions gained just yet for him, and he's fighting Page, who's behind him. And going well between all our drivers up front. So Teo already almost out to a whole second lead in front of Taz, who has managed to take P2 away from Slade in our pro division. Spicer down the back of the pack, lost a position at the start, as Pezrock and Damon have managed to gain a lot of positions early on. Done quite well. As Lawrence, who in our pro division has been pushed off the track here at turn 12. So we did mention that these snake corners of 6 to 9 can be quite tricky, and if you don't take them perfectly, you can really get yourself set up for turns 10 and 12 at the Oak Road hairpin. So on board with Slade here, who'll be wanting to try and take back P2 from Taz. But he's got some work here. Taz managed to go consecutive second places last week at Daytona. He'll be looking to go one better and take away the crucial points from Teo in first position. Again, 40 points for our first place of each division here in Virginia. But Teo already got himself out to a 1.2 second lead. Again, with this division, you'll want to be looking to keep yourself within the 1 second to keep that slipstream benefits going. So Taz really needs to try and make up some ground here between him and the front leader of our pro division. Bit of a replay here as we see Sean going around, was it the hairpin of 12 out at Oak Road? Does quite well, and he's had to stop. By, let's hope that's not a fueling issue. I hope he hasn't forgotten to fuel up. That's a Crosser Dog special right there. As Taz, though, again, back on board with Slade and Taz up the front here. Guscott, our championship leader in the intermediate division. Bit of a spin out the back. And loses a position there. So Guscott, again, had no quality time, so gave himself a real challenge to try and gain some positions there. Currently still in P9, as Elson has managed to actually take the lead from Belbin. And so Chris currently leads our intermediate division. Down in our amateur division, Daniel Piper has managed to jump Eckham and Jeff, who has also crashed out of the series as well, according to my timesheet. So we've only got 3 drivers left in our amateur division, all going to be walking away with some crucial points there. But Daniel Piper, currently P3 in our championship, will be looking to cash in as many points as he can, as Monaco, who is leading, is not here tonight in Virginia. Lap 1 drama here. On board with Owen Page, who lost a few positions. Oh, this is our formation lap, so we're having a bit of quality as Owen had to stop for someone trying to warm up their tyres, and then someone's gone and spun in front of him. This is the formation lap, just to remind everyone. This isn't even the race. So it tells you what happened there. Drivers trying to get their tyres up to warmth, ready for the race, and unfortunately, just had a bit of drama from everyone there. Back on board with Matthew Berry, who has managed to stay P4, so a nice little result from him after what was a fantastic quali getting into that second row. Has managed to keep in touch with Slade, who's still in touch with Tazza. So Teo has just flown away from the rest of this group, 2 seconds in front of Taz. And Taz has got an absolute train of drivers behind him, all trying to gain a few positions. Slade, though, is under some pressure from Berry, who's under some pressure from Roseman. Only 2/10 behind him, Roseman on Berry. So Roseman will be trying to get himself into 4th, as now we're on board with Belbin, who's lost that P1 position to Elson, and has managed to keep himself about 5/10 behind. So we're keeping a close eye on our intermediate division and who's going to be taking the win there. So about a quarter of the way through here in Virginia. So plenty of driving still to do. And a reminder for our feature race, the results are flipped. So first goes to the back of the pack for the feature, and has to try and make their way through the whole pack to gain some points again. So makes it interesting because it means our faster drivers really have to compete and make some crucial overtakes. And give some of our back markers, maybe some drivers who had some unfortunate DNFs early on, a chance to get some points and go from there. So Belbin is staring down Elson, who is right in front of him here. They're going through these snake chicanes in turns 6 to 9. So crucial that these drivers take these smoothly and making sure that they get themselves ready for the south bend of 10, which goes into our hairpin turns at 12. So there's your biggest overtake or biggest chance for gaining time. If a driver mistakes those corners, it's where you can really catch up some time here. As Cato has a bit of a spin in our pro division, has got himself down into P15. Not the race they would have been hoping for. Losing 5 positions there. both the Lawrence brothers have dropped down 7 and 8 positions after starting in the middle of the pack there from those two. So those two have managed to get themselves into a crash. As Slade has dropped off the back of this front group, had a bit of a spin, has gone from P3 all the way to the back of the pack with Cato. And they've got some work to do after spinning at the hairpin of 12. Not a great result for them after what was a fantastic quali and a fantastic start. So gives a bit of a relief to Taz up the front. Here he is, spins, just gone a little bit too wide at the hairpin at corner 12 and has unfortunately paid the price for it. So Taz now a bit of a relief as Berry is now 8/10 behind him, but he's not gaining this time to Teo up the front. It's now 2.3 seconds. I can tell you now, fastest lap time between the two drivers is 4/10 difference, as Teo set a 1:44.8 as the fastest time. So yeah, it's Teo's race to lose at this point in time. So Taz needs a miracle to catch that up. On board now with Daniel Piper, who's managed to lose his P1 position to Caldwell, who's the driver up in front of him at the moment. So Piper really did do well last week in Daytona. I'm pretty sure he qualified P1 and just lost it after the start of the race. So he'd be looking to really capitalize and get some points here, but he's got Caldwell in front of him, who's had a fantastic start, gained 3 positions from P4 up into P1 currently. And, well, Caldwell, we're looking to go all the way and finish this race off as we're almost heading into the halfway mark. So Pejwok in P10 here, eyeing off Sebastian Spicer, who Spicer we saw do quite well at Daytona. So Virginia's proving a bit of an issue for him. And both drivers, though, had a fantastic start. Pejwok has got up 5 positions and Spicer's got up 3. So some great results for the two of them so far, but Pejwok now down this back straight between 13 and 14, heading into the roller coaster chicane. Got to make sure he doesn't go too wide and gets that braking marker perfectly and heads into 17 of the hog pen before going across the start-finish line. But everything seems all fine racing so far. Back on board with Berry, who has managed to gain a position after that spin by Slade. And he's got himself into the podium position currently. Roseman again gained a position from the spin as well. So everyone's just gone up 1 position, otherwise unchanged from the starting order. And Roseman is keeping quite a tight lock on Berry in front of him. Berry's dropping a bit behind Taz, who's got about 2 and a bit second between Berry and Taz now. So the last place position on the podium is all up for grabs between our drivers here. Davis, though, has had Plevely, who has gained 3 positions from the restart. So Davis has got a bit of challenge from behind him, with some pace being shown by Blue Flag Racing there. So, of course, we've got some constructors going on between all our drivers here. So not only is it a drivers comp, is it a constructors comp here. So a mix of a lot of teams between everyone. So RLO Racing, Blue Flag Racing, Can't Park There, Sir Esports, Back Marker Racing on board with Caldwell, and this is how the overtake occurred for P1 and back in our amateur division. Daniel just got pushed a little wide there going into the corner and manages to nice little overtake there by Caldwell as he sees a spin up in front of him, of whoever that spin was. It's Joshua Lawrence. So the Lawrence brothers have not had the start that they wanted in the pro division, and Virginia's just not helping them. Back on board with Roseman then here in this fight for the last podium position. About 4 drivers all competing for this between Berry, Roseman, Davis, and Plevely, all within that crucial 1 second gap of each other. So they'll be getting a little bit slipstream down kind of the back straight and then the snake corners of 6 and 9. Oh, Roseman having some competition from Davis behind, who almost got a wheel in there. But Roseman now trying to make this move on Berry. He's sick of looking at his rear end. He knows that time is slowly ticking down. He's got about 9 minutes left as we've got the Durex car behind him there of Davis. So this last battle here for kind of P4, P3, I don't think it's going to go away for the rest of this race. This is going to be interesting how this all plays out. As can confirm, Teo's just set another fast lap of 1:44.8 up the front. So Hazard has managed to set a 145 flat, so certainly picking up the pace, but he's that gap is still extending up the front. So these 4 cars, though, going into turn 12 of Oak Road, as they're on board with Cato, makes a little tap up the front and just spins around, unfortunately losing the spot to Slade. Slade down 12 positions, Cato down 5, so not the race they would have been hoping for, as Joshua Lawrence has DNF'd out of this race as well. So we lost 2 from the Pro Division, lost 2 from our Amateur Division as well, by the looks of things. But all eyes are still currently on board here for the final podium position of the sprint race. Still plenty of laps to go, probably about 3 or 4 laps, judging on the times being posted by our drivers so far. So opportunities are expiring, but Piper down in amateur division has not let Caldwell get away. Again, this is for P1 in our amateur division here. Piper did hold it originally, so he was up 2 positions to start with, but Caldwell has had a blinder of a race, starting in P4 towards the back of the pack, and has managed to get himself all the way up to P1. And there's 40 crucial points here, but he does have Piper, who is right behind him, and Eckham is right behind Daniel here. So we've got a 3-way fight for first going on. This is going to be some interesting times going into the final few laps here, as this looks like mayhem. What we're seeing, Plevley down in P12 of our Pro Division makes the overtake on Slade. Oh, he goes around, unfortunately, heading into the Oak Tree chicane. And Plevley has dropped all the way to the back of the pack in our Pro Division. So as we head back, though, Daniel Piper, I believe that's Plevley that he's passing. It is too, so Plevley's had another spin, unfortunately. So Plevley's race is all over. He will start P1, though, in the feature race. So a chance for Matthew to try and gain some points there in the main race there. Back to our final podium position in our Pro Division. So a little bit more spread out at the moment. So this is now just Berry, Davis, and Roseman. So we've had a spin from one of our drivers in, or Plevley it was, sorry, who we were on board with, who was in this battle. So he's managed to spin after doing a fantastic job gaining positions at the start. So not the race that Plevley deserves after all the work he's done. But it does leave 3 left fighting for this podium. So Roseman is exactly where he started in P5. Davis has managed to make the overtake in his 3rd row partner. But Davis did set some promising times on board, as we've got Teo, who is just cruising up the front. You can see Taz a few corners behind him, but this lead has just strengthened as we went on. So he's almost out to 5 seconds. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets to that mark by the end of the race. Taz has managed to give himself a comfortable lead, almost about the same timeline. So there's 10 seconds or 9 seconds between 1st and 3rd at the moment. But yeah, our front 2 skyrocketing away from the rest of the pack. But again, all eyes. We're keeping a close eye on this battle because it's one of our closest battles on the track at the moment. And to have 3 drivers here all heading into the last 5 minutes of the sprint, all fighting for the last podium. One mistake could be the difference here, down to our amateur division, as we know that these 2 are fighting off. Caldwell's actually managed to get a bit of a gap between him and Daniel. So about a second, almost 2 seconds between the leader of the amateur and Caldwell. And Plevley's trying to make the overtake on Piper. So it does mean that different divisions can be racing each other. There's no rules to say you must give way to divisions behind you. It's just all racing now from start to finish. So just because you're in a higher division does not mean you get right away on track. So Daniel's got all rights to be defending here. He's going to be eyeing off. You can see Caldwell in front of him, taking the outside line, going down the 13, 14 straight down the back here. Caldwell's got Hayden, though, trying to make the inside move, and he's going to let him go by as we head into the roller coaster chicane. But that means Daniel has managed to catch up and is now right behind Caldwell, and suddenly the win for the sprint race in our amateur division is very much back on. Jeff Sanford here, who's currently last in our amateur division. He's about one lap down, and another almost drifts around the corner of 12 at the Oak Tree corner. But not the race that Jeff would have been hoping for going into Virginia. So he did start P2 after what was a promising quali, but has dropped down to P5 in the back of the pack and is about 4 laps down now. So his race is certainly over. He'll be starting P1 in the feature race for our amateur division. Matthew Berry now being absolutely hassled by Roseman. Davis has managed to make the move to get P3, so Berry back to P4 where he started, and Roseman has had a few chances here to make the overtake to go P4, so nice little move there by Davis and Berry, both on the same team, it must be said, both representing Can't Park There Sir Esports. So from a team point of view, you're going to be making sure you're some team comms going on. But Berry has Roseman competing for the spot as we see the overtake here with the Aussie Racing League logo. Just there we go. Davis, nice little move there by Davis, and almost saw Roseman try to make it 2-1 on Berry. So Berry almost went from 3rd to 5th within a matter of corners. As we're heading into what will be the last 2 laps of this race, just judging on time. Berry spins around though, has dropped down to P5, potentially drops even further. He does, that's Ben O'Connor from ARL Racing, gets P5. After what's been some fantastic racing from Berry, he spins around, has dropped to P6. Was in the podium position, but unfortunately has spun as we're on board with Taz. Taz goes a little wide into the corner. So his time has actually dropped down to 10 seconds now behind Teo, but he now has Davis a second behind him. So suddenly P2 is now no longer confirmed. On board now with Roseman, who watching the spin and makes the overtake for P4, and he'll be eyeing off Davis to try to get on the podium. So we've now got a 3-way battle for P2 here in our Pro Division, as Berry has managed to get himself secured in P6, but he'll be a little bit annoyed about that after being in the podiums for a majority of the race. So looking down at our amateur division, looks like we've had a spin from our leaders as Keegan has managed to drop down to P3. Eckham's got himself up to P2 after being going through in the pole position through quali, and he is eyeing off Daniel Piper, who is going to be trying hard to get this win in this amateur division, running the Italian colours as his livery. Eckham now, late little dive going into corner 12 at the Oak Road hairpin. Takes it a little wide, so does Daniel though. And who's this spun? This is Keegan, so that's where the spin occurred. And where P1 was given up to our drivers. A little bit of a touch from, well, I'd say is that's a Plevely in our Pro Division. So unfortunately, as I said, the divisions do get mixed. We're going to go 3 wide into the roller coaster chicane. Eckham's made the move for P1. And here comes, it's Hayden in our intermediate division. So not someone that they're racing with, but they are trying to get the slipstreams from. So Eckham's made the move for P1 last second here as Hayden gets into the pits. But Daniel drops back down to P2. He's used to being in this position after being in P2 for Daytona. And this will be the last lap of the race as it's all done off our race leader. So this is all done off what Teo managed to get around. So Teo did start this lap. And Taz, we just noticed Taz has dropped down to P9. So Taz has had a spin after being P2 the whole race. Taz has just said, there you go to Teo. And here's the spin here. So he was getting pressured by Davis. Here's the second spin, sorry, as he dropped. He's out of fuel. Taz has not fueled up enough for the sprint. Tried to underfuel the car, and Taz has had a DNF out of this race. That is not going to be what he was hoping for. Teo takes the win in our Pro Division and skyrockets himself ahead of Taz, who has going to score minimal points as he's dropped down to P14 in this race. Chris Elson in the intermediate division will go in P1 as Rosman takes the last pole division. Davis, though, goes P2 after some clean racing by Davis. So Xavier has done well. Daniel and Eckham still fighting, though. This is still a live race heading into the roller coaster chicane. That's your P1, P2 for the amateur division. Daniel's going to try and gain the last minute room as out of fuel as well. Eckham has not fueled up enough and will not finish the race. Daniel has been gifted P1 in the amateur division. Everyone needs to fuel up just that little bit more as the last few corners have proved costly. Caldwell's going to come through and take P2 from Eckham. As there he goes, there's Eckham down into P2. And Caldwell will take P2 after leading a vast majority of this race, it must be said. Eckham's pushing himself along. Get there, Eckham. Get to the finish line. He's going to crawl along, trying to take P3, the last podium position. Brody is a lap behind, so as long as he can get to the finish line, he will take P3 here. You can see him trying to wiggle the car along. This is he's not going to get there. I don't know how the qualify or the position works for someone who hasn't finished, considering Brody will technically be able to go around. It'll be interesting to see how that finishes up. As the last of our drivers here, just getting themselves around the track for their last race. Eckham tried. That was hilarious. That was great. Thanks for that. Thanks for that move there, Eckham. So, intermediate division, Chris Ellison managed to hold on to that lead from start to finish. About a 3-second gap between him and Jaden, who Jaden did qualify P1. And here's the move by Slade. Yeah. Owen Page managed to gain 3 positions overall and takes the last podium position in our intermediate division. So done well there. Started P6, managed to get himself into podium. Pro division, Teo from start to finish had a 12-second gap. Fastest lap on the track with a 1:44.7. Xavier Davis done well, up 4 positions, and was just in some clean racing all race. Some great racing by Xavier, but we now have the challenge of starting in the back row next to Teo in this feature race. Roseman does P3 after some fighting there. Ben O'Connor P4 and Berry P5. So some disappointing results by Teo, who was in P2 the whole way. Dropped 11 places to finish P14 after not fueling up enough. Probably our biggest losser of the day there. Shout out to Damien McDonald, who's our gainer position champion, up 7 positions alongside Ben O'Connor, it must be said as well. Both gained 7 positions for the sprint race and have done well for drivers there. And as you see, the amateur results confirmed. Daniel Piper, a great result for him. He, after what was a frustrating Daytona, massive 40 points for the championship lead there, and has now the challenge of starting at the very back of this whole pack to try and chase all drivers up the front. So Sanford and Barber would be your front row of your amateur division. McLeod and Gusgood. So Gusgood, our current championship leader in the intermediate division, will be your front row. So Jacob will be looking to gain all 60 points in that intermediate division in the feature race. And then McQuillan and Joshua Lawrence, who had a spinning fest there at times, will be the front row for the feature race. So again, if you're new to the series, we will have a 40-minute feature race about to start in, I believe it's about 10 minutes between the races. 5 minutes time, I'm being told, sorry. And yeah, so it's a 40-minute race. Drivers must make a pit stop, which is the big difference between our sprint and our feature. And the grid order is completely flipped. So all the results from the sprint get flipped around. And that is our sprint result, sorry, our feature race starting grid. So we will head to a break and we'll be back in 5 minutes for the feature race, but don't go anywhere. We will be back soon.
But not you believe who you are? Now here they go, they roam about around the town to knock you out, to shut you down, to rein in the crowd. See how they walk into a place but can't explain what the game is. They have no grace, they pace their ways, afraid of gazing. Days and days they've run the plot and lost the spot. Waves of hatred breaking on them, that's the problem. Told and told again, now never catch the embers of life with breath, or earth to take for granted. So boom, bow, kapow, how about that? Now you plan to attack as a matter of fact is dead. Long gone and buried, no longer so scary. Carry no burden, hurt and weary. You're the same as your envy. So don't look around, don't run aground. You take the crown, you make a sound. Live out your life right now. Never mind if you feel afar. Just look up and realize who you are. Won't you just see me for who I am? Won't you believe who you are? Won't you just see me for who I am? Won't you believe who you are? It's not the way in which you will run, but in the way in
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Aussie Racing League here at Virginia International. If you've just missed all the action, we've just done our sprint race and are now getting ready for our feature race. Drivers are just doing their 10-minute practice between sessions as we wait for everyone to join back into the lobby. As the grid is flipped from the results that we saw in the sprint. So if you're last, you get the chance to start first this one. And if you had these successes of going first in the sprint race, you are now got the challenge of trying to go through the whole pack to go first again. So last week at Daytona, we did see all drivers across all division who went first in the sprint. They managed to go and do the last first challenge and go first again in the feature. So it is possible. And it is definitely something that a lot of our drivers will be eyeing off. So the big one that I'm eyeing off is Jacob Guscott in our intermediate division. He's currently our championship leader in our intermediate division and crashed out pretty early in the sprint race here at Virginia. So he'll be looking to absolutely capitalize and get the full 60 points to walk away with something here and make sure he can defend his title. Looking at the grid here now, so yeah, Sean and Pejwok will be in the front row. Plevely and Taz, who had the unfortunate fuel issue, will be going on the second row. So probably Taz's best chance of walking away with the win here. Cato and Alex in the third row, followed by Slade and Wooly. Slade had an unfortunate spin in the sprint after being in the top three for most of the race. Spicer and Lawrence and McDonald and Berry. So Berry making his way up to the pack in that last minute fight there for the podium. O'Connor, Roseman, and then rounding out the back row is Davis and our championship leader in the pro division of Teo, who we have seen has mad space here. So he'll be looking to make his way the whole way through. Intermediate division, as I mentioned, Jacob, who is our current championship leader in the intermediate division, is in the front row along with Todd. Hayden and Assam is in the second row. Azizi and Rick Wood in the third row. Paige, Belbin, and Chris Elson, who had a fantastic result taking out his first win of the season in our intermediate division. And then Sanford and Barber both crashing out reasonably early. Barber was a few laps down, and Sanford just did not have the result they were looking for in the amateur division, along with Eckham, who ran out of fuel in the last 2 or 3 corners of the sprint race, who was comfortably going to go win and ended up going third. So Eckham, we were looking for some redemption here on Daniel, who managed to take the win in the amateur division. And Caldwell, after having some success early on in the sprint, had a bit of a spin and dropped down into P3, but managed to get P2 by the end of the race. So interesting tactics being at the back of the pack. Obviously, having just won a race, you now have the massive challenge to try to go from last to first to try and do the double win. And certainly at Virginia, there is a lot of opportunities for you to have those overtake chances to climb up the field. So as we're eyeing off turn 13 and the back straight there, that's one of your main chances as you head down to the roller coaster chicane. One of your absolute main chances to catch a few positions. So we are under, it is a rolling start here under safety car. So drivers will be holding their positions here as we head through snake corners of 6 to 9 and into the crucial crucial south bend of corner 10 before heading into the Oak Tree chicane, which we saw a fair few of our drivers actually struggle with at times. This is where a lot of our spins were occurring. Now, the big part as well, our divisions are separated here at the restart. So you'll see all of our professional drivers up the front, our intermediate drivers in this middle pack here. And then as you can see, the amateur drivers, all 5 of them out the back of the pack. So this is just to make sure that all our divisions are starting together before the race goes. Once the race goes, anyone can end up anywhere. So you might be racing someone in a different division. It is all up for grabs between whoever wants to fight off. But it's going to be an interesting 40 minutes here. So again, if you're new to iRacing, it's a timed race. It's not lapped race. So it's 40 minutes of racing just straight. Once the timer has expired, that last lap on the lead car will be finished. And once the lead car has crossed the start finish line again, that will be it for our race tonight. So still under safety car here as we are waiting for the start of this race, heading down this main back straight at Virginia. This is where a lot of overtakes can occur as you got a little bit of a a dive bombing opportunity into the roller coaster chicanes of 14 and 15. If you could manage to get the right line, it's certainly a place for overtakes. So we'll wait for our drivers to get around these last few corners and get ready for the feature race here for Aussie Racing League iRacing Division. Now, remember, those that are tuned in for our sprint race as well, the biggest difference between the two races is that all drivers must complete a pit stop. There is a cap on the amount of fuel that drivers can take out each time. So it does force them into a pit stop as our safety car's heading around the turn 17 of Hogpen. And it will be all on Sean McQuillan here to release the drivers and get themselves ready for what will be the start of our feature race here. Sean's getting himself sorted, waiting for these red lights to come on, and he's gone. Sean's got the jump on Peugeot as Taz has managed to get himself on the inside. Plevley's gotten himself into P2 already. What a great little move by Plevley, who was one of our biggest gainers and had an unfortunate spin towards the end there. Taz is the blue car on the very outside as he goes on the inside of Matthew, trying to get himself back up into P2. And he does the perfect little move on the inside of the first corner there, heading into the horseshoe hairpin. And Taz looking to get himself his first win of the season. He's got Sean in front of him as we head towards the back of the pack. Eckham's managed to get himself into the lead in our amateur division as Rickwood has got himself up 2 positions as he's dropping down the back of the pack. So Rickwood's had a bit of a spin after what was gaining all positions there. Ifty in the car park there. Esports up 3 places to take P1 in our intermediate division. Owen Page up 5 to be in P2 and chasing down the leaders. But Sean has managed to hold P1, but we know he has got a fast driver of Taz right behind him. Our championship leader, our winner from our sprint race. Again, he's on a 3-win streak at the moment. Teo, he is currently P13, up 3 positions already after the first few corners as we head into the hairpin chicane of lap 12 at Oak. Harry Lawrence on the outside then having another spin after spinning out in the sprint. So just Virginia is not his track for racing here. As Roseman currently was our P3 driver in the sprint. And got himself up 3 positions into P11 and is now chasing down Matthew Berry, who he's had to do this in the sprint race. So he knows Matthew's style of racing, knows how to make an overtake. But I won't lie, Matthew had some good defense going into that sprint race. Once again, Sean has got Taz side by side trying to make a move for the lead. Taz has actually made the overtake and posts the fastest lap time so far. So new leader up the front of Tazza. You can see him there in the blue car making the overtake. Matthew Plevley is trying to go around the outside from the helicopter view. Some great shots here as Cato, after spinning out in the sprint, started somewhat towards the back of the pack. Somewhat towards the back of the pack in the sprint, started towards the front here in P5 in the feature race. Has gained a position over Peugeot, who's struggling with speed at the start here, and is now eyeing off Matthew Plevley right in front of him. Teo's gained another position after the spin out of Harry Lawrence, who is in the pit. Must have got some damage after that spin. So Harry's making his compulsory pit stop. A couple of our intermediate drivers are all making their pit stops. Rickwood, Belbin, McLeod, and Azizi all made their pit stop really early here. So a couple of drivers all, and in our amateur division, both Barber and Sanford have all making their pit stops. So they will need to make a second one as the fuel allowance won't let them go the whole way to the very end here. So yeah, certainly not the start that those drivers were hoping for. Looking at the race restart here as Ifty is going up the inside, making some fantastic moves. That's a spin out there for someone. A few bit of contact and the last little dive by Ifty to gain a few positions. There was about a 4 wide little tassel there going into that first corner of the snake chicanes. So nice little moves there by a couple of our drivers. So Owen Page at the moment being the big leader is currently leading our intermediate division, up 6 positions currently. There's a spin there from Gus Scott. It's a massive crash. He was going sideways on the race in the middle of the track, it must be said. And there is just carnage everywhere from all of our drivers. That's what would have caused the mass pit stops that we were seeing, resets to track, and not the race results that Gus got, the championship leader. Todd McLeod is just flying. He's gone. Oh, what a massive damage by Todd. That's just, he was almost flying out of the arena here, Virginia. That's going to be just internal damage, external damage, all damage, emotional damage as well for Todd there. And certainly is not the race that he would have been looking for after starting up the very front of this race here. So a lot of changes. Owen Page up 6. Chris Elson, our winner from our sprint race, already in the podium. So some great results there from Chris in the intermediate race, as Taz is currently 2/10 in front of Matthew Plevley, who has managed to make the overtake on Sean McQuillan in P2. Forward now with Eckham, who is leading our amateur division at the back of the pack. He's got Keegan, who's about 2 seconds behind him. So he's made a bit of a gap. 4 seconds behind him. Made a bit of a gap in the amateur division, as here comes Matthew Berry in our pro division, heading into this chicane of corner 12. Another spin. And he's going to have to try and enter this track safely. So we have seen a few spins at turn 12 at the Oak Tree hairpin. So drivers just being cautious going around there as well. So eyes on Teo now, who's made himself up into P9 after starting last. So this man is undefeated so far in the pro division, hasn't lost a race yet. And our P1 sitter at the start of the race has managed to drop back down to P6. So Sean's probably best chance today seems to have gone already after his drivers behind him has just overtaken him quite easily in his first couple of laps here. So a bit of a tight battle from third behind Cato all the way down to 7th. We've got drivers all within that 1 second barrier, all will be getting slipstream from the driver in front of them. Seb Spicer, who we saw have some good results in Daytona, finished middle of the pack last in the sprint race, and be looking to try to capitalize and get a few more points. Another driver has managed to go off the track. That's Ashwork has gone off at corner 12 again. So turn 12 seems to be the absolute nightmare corner for our drivers, as Spicer making the inside move on Jackson there in down this 13 straight. We're heading into the roller coaster chicane here, so if Jackson's going to make a move back, it's going to be in this next corner. But behind Jackson is Anthony Roseman, who we did see fight for a podium position in the sprint. Managed to go P3 at the end there. Has managed to get himself all the way back down to P10 on Roseman. And there's Pejrock has just gone too far on that grass and has just lost all control. Not the results that the representative from Backmarkers Racing would be wanting, that's for sure. On board now with our intermediate drivers, Rickwood here, who did start in P6, as going around this first snake bend and has just lost control almost. Nice little dodge there from the drivers behind. So Rickwood, after gaining a few positions, gone back down to P6, so where they've started. So no improvement for Rickwood so far in the intermediate division, as on board with Slade. So Slade's done quite well after what was an unfortunate result in the sprint. They were really competing for that top 3 position for quite some time. Had an unfortunate spin about 10 minutes into the sprint and found himself kind of towards the back of the pack. So has got 3 positions so far. So started P7, now in P4, and has got Cato in front of him, who's holding that final podium position. Flukesy, he's throwing some chat to all of our drivers in Virginia. There's certainly been a few crashes, Flukesy. You're not wrong, mate. Crosso and I are quite enjoying. Shout out to Crosso, who is our producer for the stream. He's the one controlling everything that you see on the stream here, and has certainly done some tired hours over the last week to get you what is a brilliant display for our drivers to see how they're going. So on board with Spicer, who we can see Teo going on the inside of Sean. So it's going to be a pretty easy overtake for Teo, and he's got himself into the top 6. So already up 10 positions, and we're only a quarter of the way through this race. So Teo looking to go 4 wins in a row to start this season, and get himself off to the perfect start in our Pro Division here. Spicer now eyeing off this move on Sean. Sean's just giving up places left, right, and center here, just not being able to find the racing line. And inside Sean's going to be Roseman, who wants to have another, also makes the move. So Sean loses 2 positions in one corner, down to P9 already after 9 minutes of racing. So Cato here now being absolutely bullied by Slade behind him. He's let Cleveley in front of him get out to a 1 second lead, so loses that slipstream effect, and he's now on for his life defending. So Chris Elson back down in our intermediate division has got Hayden in front of him, and he's going to try and go on the inside. Nice little cut, but it's actually McDonald in our Pro division who's defending. So McDonald down in 13th position in our Pro is holding the 3rd place to Elson in our intermediate division. Our sprint winner for the drivers in the intermediate group as well. So Chris trying to get this overtake done so that he can catch Hayden down, and Page, who is currently about 4 seconds in front of him. So Hayden, one of our F1 drivers as well in our Division 2 competition. So you can see Hayden on a Wednesday night. If you're wanting to watch some more racing, obviously F1 divisions Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as well, for plenty of Aussie Racing League action. As we're on board with Cato now, who is holding P3 quite well, has managed to hold this position for a few laps now. But he has Jonathan Slade, who must be said currently has the fastest lap of the race. So Cato has the fastest driver behind him, wanting this last podium position. But look out behind Slade. Teo has made another position up to 5th and is chasing down these front markers, or front drivers, like there is no tomorrow. There's a bit of a gap between Teo and Slade after trying to make it through all the drivers. He's got about 5 seconds between him and Jonathan and Cato, as there's the move that Teo's made on Alex for P5 down our start-finish straight as well. So a couple of moves being made by all our drivers. But yeah, if I'm in that front 4, I'm starting to get worried by this championship leader, who has proven that he has some serious pace, and he is chasing you all down. So they're managing to hold this 5.5 second gap between Cato and Teo at the moment. As I'm just realizing Slade is not being seen in our lineup. That's okay, we keep moving. So there is another driver between Teo and Cato at the moment, of Jonathan Slade, who we're seeing as the speed with the fastest lap, and he'll be wanting a podium to finish things off after, as I said, it was not a best result for him in the sprint series after competing for so long in the top 2 there. Taz up front has managed to get himself out to about 2.5 second lead, so he's going to try and build this lead as far away from Teo as he can. So we know that from the sprint race, Teo almost had a 5 second lead on Taz at one point there, before Taz spun out, lost fuel, and everything else went downhill for Taz in the sprint. So we know that the lead for first needs to be as far as possible as he can possibly make it. Looking down the rest of our packs, Owen Page is now holding a massive lead to everyone behind him. So he's got a 14 second gap on Hayden. And it's just an insane gap for Mr. Page there. And all he needs to do is just keep calm, and he'll be taking home a win for the intermediate group. Chris, who's the winner of the intermediate sprint, is holding strong in 3rd. He's trying to get this overtake done. As Brody, who's last in our amateur division, smashes himself into the tyre wall and is struggling once again. So did crash out in the sprint race early on, and his Virginia is just not his track by the looks of things. On board now with this fight for 3rd place. So Cato now has Slade behind him and is wanting that position. Is that? And yeah, that's Blevely again in front of him. So front 4 is quite spread. Well, 1st and 2nd is quite spread, but 2nd to 4th is quite tight. So the last 2 positions on this podium are still all to fight for. we'll jump on board with Cato and give all our viewers, when we get to this start-finish line, give all our viewers the look around Virginia as we head into the roller coaster chicanes and heading into the last corner of the hog pen of 17 and heading up this last hill, heading in for the start-finish race. Someone's gone wide there in front of Blevely. That's Bellman in our intermediate comp. So down in 7th place. Has gained 1 position after going P2 in the sprint. But we'll leave you on board with Cato to take yourselves around Virginia for a lap. It really is just a beautiful track to race around there. Some absolute scenic views around Virginia here. Now, strategies that you're seeing on board. Oh, nice little bit. Blevely's been pushed off by Cato behind. Slade's managed to go on the inside and will take P2. Great time to come back with the commentating, but Blevely's got pushed off in corner 1 at the horseshoe chicane. Cato hasn't gained or lost any position, stays P3, but Slade managed to get the perfect line between everyone, and he takes P2 and is now on the way to try and chase down Taz, who's up front. So, bit of a change in our podium. Blevely had an unfortunate spin out again in the sprint, so he won't be too happy after another tap going into the horseshoe chicane. Oh, sorry, horseshoe hairpin, I should be saying. But as we stand, Cato still P3, Slade is in P2 in our Pro Division. As we re-watch this overtake, there's the contact between Blevely and Cato, and Slade on the inside, getting the proper racing line around there, and it takes P2. Blevely managed to get back on track, I'm assuming. Yep, here we go. Blevely's back on track and going. So Blevely dropped down to P10 after that. So unfortunate for him, who was doing so well in 2nd position there. But Jonathan Slade is still currently our fastest lap holder. Is now on to try and chase down Taz, who, it must be said, has dropped 6/10 within this first couple corners of Slade Racing. So potentially we could be seeing this back group catch up to the front here. Now, important factors to be mindful. As you can see, a few of our drivers are making pit stops. We are hitting the halfway mark of this race. So, as I said, because in this feature race, it is a little bit different to our sprint, all drivers must make a pit stop. There is a fuel restriction, so that drivers can only take so much fuel. So it does limit them in regards to how long they can go without pit stopping, where they can fuel up, get some new tires, and away they go as well. So we are reaching that point where pit stops will come into play. We've had a handful of drivers already pit stop. Hayden managed to come in early a few laps ago and actually complete their pit stop. So whether that was intentional and trying to do a longer stint here, because it was about 4 minutes ago still. So a little bit of time between kind of the halfway mark and when Hayden came in and pit stop. But we will see how all this plays out. Keegan, who still is P3 in our amateur division, he was 2nd just managed to hit the grass on that 17 hog pen corner, and lost the position to Daniel Piper. So the winner of our amateur division has managed to get himself back into P2. There is a bit of a gap between him and Eckham, though. Eckham is miles ahead at 14 seconds, so Eckham just needs to hold still and just do some safe racing for the remaining 20 and a half minutes we've got left. And Eckham will be coming home as a winner in our amateur division here. Some decent gaps being made between a couple of our divisions. You can see there in the intermediate division, Owen has made a massive gap between him and Chris, so the winner of our sprint. So again, Owen just needs to hold himself calmly for the rest of the race, and he'll win the feature race of the intermediate. But where the drama is in our pro division. Taz has only got a 2.5 second lead on Slade, who has Cato right behind him, potentially looking at a move as we go into corner 12 of Oak Road. Sorry, Oak Trees hairpin here. Oh, sorry, this is sorry, that's corner 1 of Horseshoe. Sorry, I get my corners mixed up. The two of them will head into the Snakes of 6 and 9. So Xavier Davis went P2 in our sprint, is still got himself in P8, so up 7 positions after starting in 15th. So he's still gained a fair chunk of positions after starting in the back row. Is currently eyeing off Alex, who's in front of him. Lost a position at the moment, but yeah, Xavier done well at the moment, so he's about halfway and is looking quite promising to get himself back into top 5 and really capitalize on these points here. Luxie, mate, I look forward to seeing you next week when we can have everyone back in again for our next race here on Sunday. Looking forward to it. Still on board here, though, with Xavier, who is eyeing off this move in front of him. He's actually Roseman, who's in... Oh, sorry, no, it is Alex, yeah, in the pro division, who's in front of him. So he will want to make this move as quickly as he can. There's a bit of a gap between him and Spicer in front. I've got a bit of work to do. So Jacob Guscott, who started first, has dropped down, started second, sorry, and has dropped down 2 positions. Our current championship leader in our intimate division. That will more than likely change after he crashed out in the sprint race after tonight, but he'll be looking to try and get back on the podium. He does have Ifty in front of him, who is currently holding the P3 spot in the intermediate race and is almost looking to do a move. But for the meantime, this straight here, and yeah, our drivers, as you see, 22-minute mark, I believe you're going to start seeing a lot of our drivers come in to complete their pits. So we've had Cato in the pro division, who was in the front 3, has come in and done his pit. It does put Teo in the podium. Now, Teo does have a pit still to complete, so all strategies are about to come into play in regards to how much drivers decide to fuel up at the start of the race and what type of strategy we all took. So this is where you'll see a lot of the pit stops start to occur. We've still got about 60% of our drivers still needing to pit. As you see, Guscott coming in for his compulsory pit stop. So relieves Ifty a bit. Going to try and go for an uncut move, I believe, if he can get a quick enough pit stop. Quickest time so far is actually done by Cato, who was 15 seconds in the pit. So plenty of time gained in the pits by Cato. Fluxy, you're not wrong. It was a bit of a murder into turn 1. Turn 1 here is been certainly dangerous alongside the hairpin at turn 12 as well. So we've seen a couple of corners that have taken a few lives of people. As Guscott actually sets now a faster time of 15:23 for a pit stop. So as looking at times from other drivers, he's gained about 7 seconds on drivers there, just in the pit stop alone. So this is going to be interesting to see where Guscott comes out, as Teo now, our championship leader in the pro division, decides to come in for his pit. So fresh tyres, fresh fuel, and Teo will be trying to do the undercut on Slade and Taz, who's in front of him. So this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. So strategy now coming into play. Teo dropping down that list at the moment. He's going to come out roughly around kind of P9, looking at some drivers as Matthew Berry comes in for his pit as well. Damien and Ben decide to stay out in the Pro Division. And Teo is taking an extremely long pit stop. Just looking at this time, he's currently 33 seconds in the pit. Something's gone wrong for Teo because he's almost double the time. Well, he is double of Kato. We've just seen Matthew Berry, who came in behind Teo, already out in the pits, and this is crucial for our championship leader. He's almost hit the minute mark in the pits, so 55-second pit stop for Teo. So almost 4 times the length of what Kato did, who we saw Kato was in P3, so that's going to be costly for Teo. If it's one man who can afford a long pit stop, though, it is Teo, because we've seen the speed that he does have. So this will be eyes on Teo, as he's currently still in P14, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where he finishes up at the end of this race. So 15 minutes to go. We've got about half our racers who have made their pit stop. All the front 11 of our Pro Division drivers have not made their pit yet. So still a lot of that to play. And this is going to be exciting stuff here for the ARL Virginia International race here as we head into the last 15 minutes of this. You see a lot of drivers now coming in the pits. So Taz, Spicer, Rosman, Davis, Alex, and Plevely all in the pits. So leave Slade out in front temporarily. So Slade's going to go an extra lap compared to Taz, as the man still holds the fastest lap. So why not, if you're the fastest driver on track, get some fresh air and see how fast you can go. Slade on board. Likely coming for a spin as he does. Does he drift around the corner? Drift it! Do it! Hold it! Oh no, he manages to go sideways. I was going to give the guy some credit there if he held that drift. That was going to be great. So there would have been some crucial time lost to him and Taz, who is in front at the moment once all pit stops have been made. As we're on board, Matthew Berry, who made that early pit stop, jumped over Teo because of the time difference, but he's going to go wide into the hairpin at 12. Goes sideways at Oak Tree hairpin, and he's going to try and turn around, and that's some crucial time lost there. Chucks it into reverse. Tries not to beach himself. And away we go again. So some crucial time lost there by Matt, who is currently still in P11. And some long pit stops occurring. So a fastest pit stop at the moment is 11 seconds by Sebastian Spicer. Here we go, Brody again in last place in our amateur, has gone too far. He's going to be out of this race as fuel has become another issue. So fuel takes another, oh no. Maybe just giving way to drivers behind just to lapping purposes is what I'm saying that would be. So only 3 drivers are yet to pit. So 2 drivers, sorry, Slade's come in for his pit. So eyes on Taz to see where he can come out. And our leader of our amateur division as well, Daniel Piper, is yet to pit. So Sean McQuellan's in. So now 1 person yet to pit, and that's Daniel Piper in our amateur division. So here comes Taz now coming through, making sure, does he get the lead on Slade? He does. And Taz will regain first position of this race in our Pro Division, and he'll be thanking the 55-second pit stop that Teo made, almost giving him half a lap of lead, which he'll be absolutely needing and almost wanting for the remaining 12 minutes of this race. Daniel Piper comes in, completes his pit stop. So strategy-wise, we are all done. We are now down to just racing. Everyone's completed their required pit stop for the feature race. Everyone's fueled back up, hopefully enough to complete the race. And we are now down to everyone's pure skill and speed. So 12 minutes to go of our feature race. Judging on the times that we're seeing, will be roughly around 8 laps. So time is running out for a couple of our drivers to make a move. Teo in particular, almost spinning it out of the horseshoe hairpin there. Losing some time to O'Connor in front of him. Ben has hold well for RLO Racing. Oh, Teo is sliding all through these last few corners here as he heads into the snake corners of 6, 7, and 8. But Ben O'Connor is just gaining some speed on Teo, and Virginia has not been our pro championship leaders track. He won the sprint pretty convincingly, but it's going to take a miracle for him to come and win the feature race here. Chris Elson, the winner of our sprint race for the intermediate division, currently back in P3. Hayden and Owen are currently ahead of him, and Owen's lead has been drastically... Oh, no, Owen has still got 20 seconds. I'm not... Oh, okay, I'm seeing why I'm not seeing that. Yeah, cool. So Owen Page, again, has kept this lead pretty comfortably the whole race. All they need to do is just keep it steady, but you're seeing Chris trying to make the move on Hayden, this long straight heading into our roller coaster chicane of turns 14 and 15. Hayden is not giving him any line to get around him. Some great defending there by Hayden going into turns 14 and 15 here. Chris, though, is not going to let him get away, and P2 is certainly up for grabs between these two drivers. It's going to be 10 minutes of fighting between these two, and who can make the mistake? Heading into the start-finish line, we've seen turn 1 be the place for overtakes. Tires are on the grass there. You don't want to be spinning. He's not going to look at a dive bomb in turn 1 into the horseshoe hairpin here, and they will stay this way heading into the snakes corners of 5, 6 and 9 as we go through NASCAR turn 3 and our left hook of turn 5 back down to our amateur division. Piper was in second, has gone on the tires and is just going to go whee all the way to the barriers on the grass. It's been a track where if you have 2 tires on that grass, you can pretty much guarantee yourself that you're going to be sliding out. So Daniel Piper, after winning the sprint, has dropped down to P3 in the amateur division. Still some decent points. It's still 54 points in P3. But he would have been hoping to go the double podium, but Eckham is 16 seconds in front of Caldwell in that amateur division. So Eckham in full control of the amateur class at the moment. Still eyeing off. Once again, we're back here at the back straight of turns 13 and 14. Chris Elson trying to make a move. Hayden giving him the outside line. We've got to go too wide into turns 14 of the roller coaster. Goes hard on the brakes, makes the move, and Chris gets himself into P2. It's going to take a miracle for him to try and chase Owen down, but that's a great move made after being behind Hayden for so long here. Matthew Plevely has not had a good night here at Virginia. He's going to go onto the grass, and that's all it took. Oh, nice little dodge. Great dodge there by, I'm going to assume it's Jackson in the Pro Division. Oh, it might actually be in Teo, to be honest. But back on board with Chris, as it's probably our closest battle on track at the moment between our divisions. Yeah. He still has Hayden who's trying to chase him down, but goes a little wide through the snake. As on board with Alex now, who has Damien McDonald a fair bit behind him. It would be Owen Page. That's your leader of your intermediate group, chasing down one of the back markers of our pro group here. And all the cars are kind of in their groove now. As you can see by our timing sheets, we've got no one who's really in crazy overtaking chances here. And for the remaining 7 minutes, it's going to be some nice smooth racing. Now, of course, if you are interested in joining, there are still plenty of places to join up for next week's Sunday race. Just join the Discord that's in the Twitch chat. And yeah, you can get yourself posted up. We will give you some times. Make sure you get in the right division of our pro, intermediate, or pro or amateur divisions. And can certainly be joining us next week, Sunday, 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard. Zach Azazi in our intermediate division. He's down in 7th place after losing a couple spots, and I believe has had to reset himself. Did not take the turns and just smashed straight into the tires. Just missed that hairpin corner completely. And I believe has DNF'd himself out of this race after that crash. On board with him, and you can see he tried to turn, but the tyres just did not go with him. And unfortunately, I would say that is the end of Zach's night. Taz now got a 9-second lead on Kato as Ben O'Connor goes for a spin, almost holds the drift quite well. There goes Teo, our championship leader. So Teo gets himself up into 11th, past Ben, who did quite well defending and got some distance between the two. And but Teo now trying to chase down anyone who can to get as many points as possible. But Taz having taken the fastest lap. Blevely makes a move on, was it Pejwalk, I believe? Oh, no, it was Keegan Caldwell in our amateur division. Keegan just whiplashed himself into the barriers of the NASCAR corner. And on board with our pro leader, Taz, who's got a 9-second lead. Pretty comfortable from Kato, who has made the overtake on Slade for P2. And all Taz will need to do is just hold strong, and he'll come away with winner here in Virginia with 60 points. Further down the pack, though, Spicer has got himself within this 1 second slipstream distance of Slade in front of him. So that's the podium position for the feature race right there. But we are down to the last 4.5 minutes. So 3 laps to go here for the feature race. As we jump down, Piper has managed to get himself right behind Caldwell here. So we've got a few podium positions being fought off in the last few minutes of this race after saying that everything had gone calm. Daniel, after winning the sprint, will be wanting to make sure that he can go P2. Eckham is just so far ahead, and Caldwell's had to come into the pits, and Piper will take P2 and is going to take a miracle to take the win. So it will probably be the best that he can do tonight, unless there's a crash by Eckham. There's then a couple of little spins going on throughout the race as we get towards the last couple minutes of this feature race here. So Caldwell needing to do another pit after deciding to take a little kiss to the wall on the track. So he will still hold second or third place after having a 4-second pit stop. That's a very quick pit stop. And we'll comfortably come home in third in our amateur division. So Slade down here looking to try and catch up to Kato, but it's going to be a tough job there. As there's cheers for Nameless being Hayden Aces in chat. Hayden is currently P3, pretty comfortably in P3 in our intermediate division. But on board, Spicer is absolutely tearing down this space between him and Slade. And the final podium position for our pro division is certainly up for grabs here. He's broken the 1 second barrier, so slipstream is going to be a little bit hard to come by. So Spicer's going to have to do some work to catch up to Slade here. As we get down to the last 2 laps of this race once our leader of Taz has crossed the start-finish line here. Of course, we've seen anything happen through these corners, especially turn 12 at the Oak Tree chicane, Oak Tree hairpin. It's been an area for drivers to spin just for having two tyres on that grass track. So really anything can occur at the last minute here. Teo is managing himself up into P10, so potentially a top 10 finish for our championship leader. He will retain the championship leader after this series, after winning the sprint race as well. But it will be cut into quite a bit with this first place win by Taz, assuming he can actually fuel up the whole way and not crash out in the last few corners. The lead for both the intermediate and the amateur divisions, though, will change up as our Guscott has got himself into 4th in our intermediate division, so he'll be able to hold some points, but after what was not a great sprint race, there'll certainly be a bit of changes up the front for our intermediate divisions. And then, of course, our leader going into tonight Monaco did not decide to race tonight, so Piper will take the lead in our amateur division for the championship. And we are certainly looking forward to seeing how all that plays out. But as we're eyeing off the last 2 laps of this race, our pro division has decided to get a little bit spicy. Slade up front is staring down Cato, going through the snake corners as we hit turn 10 of our south bend, and you can see the notorious turn 12 chicane where 2 wheels off track and you are spinning. All 4 drivers managed to take it well, and Slade's going to go on the outside of Cato as we head into the roller coaster chicane of 14 and 15. Slade looks like they're going to have the better position heading down. There's going to be 1 more lap after this for drivers trying to make a move, but Slade's going to have the better position. Cato gives in, and potentially a little bump between the drivers. Here comes Spicer on the inside. Can't get the move done on Cato. Slade takes P2, and here comes the white flag to cross for 1 last lap, 1 last chance for drivers to make a difference. And this is the last lap of your feature race here at Virginia. Caldwell's just going to enjoy the slipstream from our pro drivers here. Spicer's going to have a look on the inside. Not going to get the move done. Nose to tail action here going into the horseshoe hairpin of turns 1. We head down to NASCAR's turns 3. And the left hook turn 5. Plenty of chances. Oh, and a little gone wide by Cato. Spicer's got a chance here. He's got to get the inside line. Not enough speed to get the move done. We're going to head into the snake chicanes of 6 to 9 here. Slade's loving this because he's now got a 2.5 lead on Cato, who has just got to worry about defending this last podium position. Spicer's got to try and just get the slipstream the whole way through and probably going to make a move into turn 12 at the Oak Tree hairpin. Tight on the turn 10 south bend. And off we go here. Potentially an inside move. He's just going to worry about getting outside of turn 12 smoothly and worry about this last massive straight here. Spicer's going to have the slipstream. Potentially going to be a move going into roller coaster chicanes at 14 and 15. But Cato is holding on for dear life here. That gap's getting smaller and smaller. And here comes the move by Spicer. He's going to get the inside line. He's not going to take the last minute move. The last chance is going to be at the final corner here of Hogpen. Oh, don't touch the back there. He's going to go for a switcheroo move. It's not going to get done. Spicer's going to hold off on for P4. Cato's going to hold on for P3 here for the last podium. Great little race. Oh, it's going to be a last little battle. Going to go. Who gets it? Cato has given Spicer P3 on the last straight there. What a nice little battle for P3. Spicer takes P3 from Cato after being in the top 3 for pretty much the whole race there. And a great move to finish this race off. Taz does take the win quite comfortably in the Pro Series. Slade goes P2. Spicer with the last minute overtake on P3. Cato in P4. And Davis, after starting last, manages to go P5 here. On board with Rickwood, who is currently 6th place in our intermediate division, is going to make a last lap overtake on McDonald. And that's Teo in front, who will go P9 in the pro division. So Teo, not the result he would be wanting. He will still keep the lead, but it was certainly interesting. We'll keep it all close for the front end of our pro division. Owen Page manages to go P1 in our intermediate division, and Elson goes P2. Hayden goes P3. Jacob goes P4, and Ifty goes P5. As on board with Davis, who I'm assuming he's got to spin around this corner here. No, all clean racing over on that. Ecker does take the win in our amateur division quite convincingly. Daniel Piper goes P2 and will skyrocket himself. Nice little tap there by Berry on the back end of the end of the race there. So not the great result he would be hoping for. Caldwell goes P3 after starting after P2 in the sprint. So a great afternoon for Caldwell and Piper in our amateur division. Sanford and Barber go P4 and P5. So still some great points for everyone there in our competition, as Osrenault doesn't get tapped and we managed to go P9 overall. So a few points there. But what a finish between our top drivers there. Spicer just manages to just make the overtake on Cato for the final podium position. Slade takes P2, Tazza takes P1, Davis P5. Great little race by Davis. He's been my driver of the day today across both events this afternoon. He really has done well. Roseman P6, McQuillan after starting P1 manages to escape through in P7, so he'll be happy with that result. Alex in P8, Teo P9, Dame McDonald in P10 will wrap it out. O'Connor, Berry, Plevley after what's been not a great night for him after a couple of crashes and everything in both races will go P13. Jackson, Pejwok and Harry all DNF'd pretty early on in this race. Confirmation of our intermediate division results here. Page takes the win. Elson, after what was a win in the sprint, will take P2, so a great night for him. Hayden takes P3 to wrap out the podium. Guscott will go P4. 50, Rickwood, Azizi, Belbin and McLeod all managed to get a little bit behind from crashes and spins. And our amateur division, Eckham, a convincing 36 seconds in front to take his first win of the season. Daniel Piper, a first and second for the night. Not a bad night, and the championship lead going into round 3. Caldwell will wrap up the podium. And Sanford and Barber. Barber not having a great night at Virginia, hoping for some better results next week here at Australian Racing League. Well, that is us done for the night. It has been a privilege to have you all. As I mentioned, Crossover is the man behind all the screen that you've seen tonight, so make sure to give him a bit of a chat or a bit of shout out in the chat. He's done fantastic with all the work behind the scenes. We are back again next Sunday, 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time at Sebring Circuit. You'll be able to watch all our drivers again go for the same format as we always do. But we certainly look forward to that. And then a few weeks down the track is our home ground Mount Panorama, which will be round 6 of the season. So certainly looking forward to how the rest of this championship plays out. Anyway, well, that is us done for another night. We appreciate you being here with us. I've been Butters. I've been your host for the night, and we will see you all next Sunday. Thank you very much.